Well, hello there.
Well, hello. I had some technical difficulties at the last minute, so this was almost going to be dead air with blank and Gans, but
I'm so glad you made it.
yeah,
That's-
my camera went out on me. It's still looking a little wonky to me, but I think everything is going to be just fine.
well, friends, it's Dead Air with Lambert and Gans, with Jacob Lima behind the curtain, making it all happen for all of us. And I am particularly excited for today because our guest during the break is going to be an amazing gentleman by the name of Jim LeBrecht, who is the co-director of a film that you absolutely must see called Crip Camp. And we'll tell you all about it during the break. There's heavy Grateful Dead content in it as well. But I'm just really looking forward to talking with Jim. He's also a big old Deadhead, so we'll be talking about the first set with him as well. We are here to get you interested in Nugs.net's live stream of Dead and Company. Right, Gary?
You bet, David. I'm still a little disoriented here, but yeah, that's the deal. They are bringing you every show of the tour in beautiful HD or even 4K streaming with fantastic sound, great visuals, and you can avail yourself of the entire show. If you're watching the free preview, you can go back and watch the previous show. You can buy the entire tour and go back and watch shows retroactively. You have 48 hours from when you start watching the show to finish it or watch it over and over again. And the response has been fantastic. People have been loving these streams, and they've been loving this band, and this band has been very worthy of the love. They've been playing fantastically. And tonight, we are back in a very familiar place with the band. If you are a Deadhead who's in need of a home mortgage, you might want to talk to the owner of the naming rights to this place. But to most of us Deadheads, it's Deer Creek, let's face it. So we are really looking forward to being back at that very well-known venue where a lot of memorable stuff has taken place over the years. And we look forward to sharing it with you. We'll come back at the break. We'll review the first set. As David said, we'll talk to Jim LeBrecht, which I'm really excited about as well. In the meantime, we're just here to fill a little time until the band is on stage, and that's always variable in nature when it'll happen. What we're doing right now is called vamping.
That's right. And we might want to mention also that there are audio downloads of all of these shows from the tour, and going back to the complete history of Dead and Company since 2016, available in a great variety of formats, including like high-res audio and stuff. And those are available for download. And there's a subscription service you can now subscribe to at nugs.net that will give you access to their complete library, which is just thousands and thousands of amazing live performances, and not just by Dead-related acts either. Lots and lots of other stuff as well. And I learned over the course of this tour that the recordings are available like an hour after the show is over. I was going back in the morning and downloading each one so I could review it and pull stuff from my radio show, but it turns out they're usually available like 30 to 60 minutes after the show. So you can get it right away. And as Gary cleverly noted the other day, you could be listening to it before you've made it out of the parking lot at the venue.
That's right. And of course, they are the fantastic mixes that Derek Featherstone is doing at the venue. And then the wonderful technical wizards of Nugsnet get it down to highly digestible size. If it's right inside your phone or your home stereo or wherever you're listening on your computer. And it's really amazing rapidity with which you can relive these shows, go back and listen to certain tunes, check out a particular jam that you really savored, or if you missed the show completely, that's a way of reliving it without having lived it in the first place. What a world we live in.
It is an amazing thing. It truly is. The Dead and Company are going to be on stage momentarily, we are told. We are waiting for a cue from them. In the meantime, we just have to keep saying stuff to you. And talking about how much we enjoy the music is never going to become redundant, right? I was really enjoying that Shakedown Street that happened in the middle of the set the other night.
Oh, in St. Louis, yeah. That was another terrific, imaginative show full of interesting song placements, great musical ideas between all the players. It's, when you're watching this many shows, they bleed together a little bit. And I'm saying, the shakedown happened in St.
Yeah.
Louis, or was it the one before? I don't know.
I think so. The nice thing about the St. Louis show was that it had a lot of Mississippi River references. It had Big River in it. It had, and they actually opened the show. Very clever of Matt Bush to recognize this. They opened the show with Iko Iko, and that was particularly significant to St. Louis because the Grateful Dead debuted Iko Iko and added it to their repertoire in St. Louis on May 15th of 1977. So the old geezer deadheads like me immediately perked up and went, oh, I know why that song's on there. But there was a lot of good Mississippi River stuff in the show.
Yeah, and Matt Bush really does keep track of that stuff. He appreciates local references. I think he thinks of things that would never occur to the band members. I'm sure none of the core guys from the Grateful Dead remember that the Grateful Dead premiered Iko Iko in St. Louis, but Matt Bush is on top of it. And I love the way he constructs these lists and throws in surprises and topical things occasionally. Sometimes the set list comment on things that have just happened in the world. And he's doing a great job. The band is doing a great job of interpreting it. And we look forward to what they have in store tonight. There are only 3 more shows left in the first leg of the tour. I guess the summer tour part of it, because when they start up again, it'll be autumn. So,
and 2 new shows were announced today.
That's right, Red Rocks.
They've added Red Rocks just before the Fiddler's Green, I guess it is. They're going to be playing on October 19th and 20th at Red Rocks. So I guess tickets are available for that. And I guess there's still a few tickets left for some of the other shows on the tour. But for those of you who are planning to go to Colorado, you might want to rearrange your trip, go in a few days early, because 19th and 20th of October at Red Rocks going to be a great place to see the band.
Yes, and I understand Fiddler's Green was one of the really heavy demands, one of the really hard tickets to get. So I'm sure people who might have, we're hoping to go to Fiddler's Green might have a second shot at seeing shows in Colorado. And of course, Red Rocks is such a spectacular venue that really happy that a couple extra shows have been announced. And those are going to go fast. I think what they are in is like the pre-sale registration mode right now. They're not officially selling the tickets, but I think there's a pre-sale kind of thing happening. And good luck to all of you. Hope you get to go.
And I want to remind you again that we're going to be doing this thing between sets. We call it Dead Air with Lambert and Gans. And after the set ends, we will rejoin this scene here and run down the set and talk to my friend Jim LeBrecht, an amazing guy with a wonderful film called Crip Camp that we want to talk about. But also it's part of Nugs.net and Dead & Company offering up free samples of their music at every stop on this tour. You're going to get the first song of the first set for free on YouTube and I guess on Facebook Live. And then the same thing happens at the second set. Our thing will start right after the first set ends and continue until the lights go down for the second set. And then if you stay tuned to this feed, you will see the beginning of the second set also for free as part of this deal. And the interest there, of course, is to get you to buy the whole thing and watch the whole show again, which Gary and I, of course, heartily recommend because we're huge fans of this music and we get to watch them all. We have to watch them all. And boy, am I glad to have this gig.
Yeah, really. As Olivia Soprano used to say, "Oh, poor you," because we are really blessed to have this as a job right now. And, I can't believe my good fortune. And, of course, you get to see the audience thrilling to this live music, which is something we've all been missing for the last year and a half plus. So that's really an ecstatic thing to see, too. Even though we're here on our various couches and whatever seat David is on, we are really feeling the experience. We're seeing friends of ours on the rail,
yes,
old familiar
true.
Faces, and that's really a lovely thing. So it's the next best thing to be in there, as they say.
And if familiar faces is an issue, Gary and I might be familiar voices to you, but not our faces, because we've been co-hosting a show on SiriusXM's Grateful Dead channel since the beginning of 2008. It's called Tales from the Golden Road, and it's on Sunday afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m. On SiriusXM 23, the Grateful Dead channel. And that's a call-in show. I mean, we BS like this back and forth a little bit, but mostly what we do is listen to you. It's a call-in show where people call in and tell their stories, and we'll chat about the tour that's underway, etc.
And the lights are
thank
down.
you. The lights are down. The band is taking the stage. We'll see you at break time, everybody. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Again, so glad you made it.
We seem to be back. I'm having visits from the techno gremlins, but I got back in just in time once again. We'll deal with it on the day off, perhaps, see if we can come up with just what the problem is. But there's no problem on stage at Deer Creek, and that's what really matters, I think.
That's right. What a set. There's a couple of surprises in there.
Yeah, a couple of tour debuts. If I Had the World to Give, a tour debut of that, which O'Teal broke out as a feature tune, I think, in 2018 or maybe 17. And interestingly, that was a song only played 3 times live by the Grateful Dead. The first of those at Red Rocks, the shows they just announced today. So maybe that had something to do with it, maybe not. But I wouldn't put it past Matt Bush.
And I'll have to tell you something, as a lifelong fan of this music, I thought I was going to hear...
She's a traitor to our country.
Oh, my God. I thought we were going to hear El Paso, and it turned out to be A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, which made me a very happy camper.
Yes, I always loved the way Bob Weir has sung that song. I think he first did it with Rat Dog and maybe also with Further. And Bob's a swell Bob Dylan interpreter, always has been, and I really like the way he does that one. And of course, unfortunately, consistently relevant to our times for going on 60 years now, that song.
Yeah. Well, let's get our guest in here so we can schmooze about the music and talk about him too, shall we?
Absolutely.
I am so happy to have this gentleman with us. I've known him almost 20 years. I've been a fan of his much longer than that. He's just an amazing guy with a terrific story to tell. He's the co-director of an Oscar-nominated film called Crip Camp that also didn't win that, but it won a Peabody, and it's an amazing, wonderful film, and it has Grateful Dead content in it too. Please, everybody, please welcome my dear friend, Jim LeBrecht. Hi, Jim.
Hi, David. Hi, Gary. Really great to be here with you. What an honor.
Great to have you.
I want to hear you talk about your film Crip Camp, but I have to tell everybody that one of the nice things about it that makes him qualify to talk with us today is that in the movie you learn that he became a sound person because he wanted to work for the Grateful Dead. So that's kind of a life path kind of deal here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wound up going to UC San Diego to become an acoustics major, literally not knowing that it was all math and physics, and which was not my strong point. So, anyway, what any good person who's creative does, you go down to the theater department and say, "Hey, I want to get involved with a show." And that really just led me into my first part of my career in theater, doing sound design for the Berkeley Rap.
That's right. That's where I first heard of you back in the day. Yeah. And then you went on to do film sound for a long time. Tell us about Crip Camp. It's such an amazing movie. And as much as we enjoyed The Octopus, I was sorry that you didn't win the Oscar.
It's a little tough to lose to something that's not really part of your species, but we all took it and cooked it with a grain of salt. So, I was so fortunate that I had been friends and worked with an incredible filmmaker, Nicole Noonan, and being her sound designer, mixer on 3 of her previous films. And being a mixer for documentaries, I wanted to see films that I wasn't seeing around disability. And, long story short, I pitched her on an idea of could she direct a film about my summer camp? Because here it was a place that really led a lot of us to get involved with the disability rights movement. There was an exodus of people from the East Coast out to Berkeley, and once she kind of saw photographs from a Facebook page and said, "Oh my God, yeah, this place is kind of like what Jim said. It's like, a summer camp for young adults with disabilities run by hippies. What could go wrong?" So,
what year was this?
well, the film really opens in 1971, and the amazing thing about the film, was that that this group of hippie videographers happened to bump into some people from Camp Jened at a gas station in Catskill, and they wound up coming over to take this new technology, a portable black and white video, and they were going to film our Camp Olympics and hang out for a little while. And when they get there, as it turns out, the camp was completely upside down because two counselors had gotten the crabs. And so we were all quarantined in a bug. We had to wash with Quell shampoo. And it's like they get there and they capture all of this. And, it's like what we had at Camp Jened was this incredible experience of just being teenagers, of just being kids or young adults. It wasn't like a place where we were babied or, treated like we were, fragile or anything. It was like, yeah, you could stay up late. You hung out with the counselors. I wound up, just being introduced to some incredible music. Not only the Dead. I mean, I kind of, I knew them, but some of the other bands that we really enjoyed from back in that time. It was a product of the time.
So there was all this black and white video footage of Camp Jened from those days, including you, right? You were in these as a subject. What happened? What did you do with that footage, and how did you turn it into a film?
Well, Nicole said to me, "Look, Jim, I think we should make this film together," which was like a big honor to me, and it was a wonderful collaboration between somebody who really is experienced and incredibly talented and hardworking, and me who knew the community, right? And I've been working in documentary film, but never directing. And I told Nicole that, look, I remember this group of folks showing up, and all I can really remember that they had the name people in the name of what the group was, and they actually handed me the camera one day to do a tour of the camp. And she went, "You've been making this film for 45 years already?" Like, oh my gosh. So she tirelessly just looked online and eventually found a digitized video magazine from back in the day that had an ad in the back saying crab outbreak at Camp Jened for the handicapped, $6.95 People's Video Theater. And with that, we had a name of the group, led us to Howard Gutstadt, who lives across the bay in San Francisco from where we are in the East Bay in Berkeley and Oakland. And as it turns out, again, we talk about those tapes from 1971 traveled 17 times from people's basements and garages. And those tapes held up, and they were being transferred at the time. We met Howard. It was actually kind of a tearful reunion in that, they wanted to bring this new technology to the people. They wanted people to be able to use this as a tool. And somehow they held onto the footage, and here I am, one of those campers, saying, I'd like to work with your material to make a film. And Nicole and I wound up getting this hard drive with 5.5 hours worth of material. And you would not believe it. In fact, you might appreciate this, so this is all raw video, right? Well, there was about a 5-minute sequence that all you saw was like a beetle going up a wall with Bob Dylan's Masters of War playing in the background. And I'm thinking maybe they were a little in an altered state when they shot. I don't have any proof, but you know what I'm saying?
Wow. So this this collection of people wound up yielding a whole bunch of founders of the disability rights movement over the years. Gary, I'm sorry to have interrupted you, but
Well, I was. You sort of led right into my thought about the disability rights movement, Jim. One of the fronts on which disability rights are fought for is access at places that you frequent as a concert goer and that you work in as a theater technician. That has been a big issue for people, who like to go to concerts, who like to go to theater. Many theaters are very archaic buildings, some dating back to the 19th century, and getting those buildings adapted to the modern needs of people is really a linchpin of the movement, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, and I've seen over. I'm 65 years old, and I've seen a lot. So, when I was a teenager, I just missed Fillmore East, because I grew up in the suburbs in Westchester, just north of the city. But I went to the Academy of Music a lot on 14th Street in Manhattan, and it used to be that I could just get a ticket for the balcony, and they'd let me sit at the bottom of the aisle in orchestra, kind of in front of the speakers. But I saw just an amazing group of people in the early 70s, like Quicksilver and even Mark Allman Band, which was one of my favorite groups from the time. Anyway, so eventually, when I moved out to the Bay Area, it was still a little bit tough at times to really get a good view where people weren't just standing out in front of you. But Bill Graham Productions started putting a platform, usually in the back of the hall, for wheelchairs. So I remember being in the Oakland Coliseum, and there was this platform with a ramp, a little scary ramp, but it was a ramp going up to this platform with a whole bunch of folks using wheelchairs. So we were up above people, and we could see really well, and the sound was pretty good there. But it was a little bit kind of those games where you have to slide the thing around to get the numbers to go on somebody had to move this way to get the wheelchair up that way, or come out and move. And but it was, and I always maintain that if you're at a party and you're trying to find the best marijuana, I would say look for somebody who uses a wheelchair. I'm not saying we all get stoned all the time, but back in the day, that was usually. So it was a great, it was really great. And nowadays things are a lot better in regards to really inclusive seating, and Shoreline is a great place for that, and some of the other venues. And I know people worked hard to get Red Rocks to be better for people who use wheelchairs.
I need to interrupt for just a moment to remind people of a couple of things. One of them is that Jim LeBrecht, our guest today, is the co-director of an amazing film that I want you to see called Crip Camp. It won a Peabody Award, was nominated for an Oscar. It's a fabulous, wonderful, deep story about a bunch of people who had a great summer and then went on to do important things later in their life. And we'll come back to that in a second, but I also have to tell you that we're offering you, through Nugsnet here, a free preview of set 2 of the Dead & Company show that's going to begin in a few minutes. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you like what you see, they would like you to go to livedead.co, where you can sign up to buy the feed. You can buy the entire season of Dead & Company and go back and watch the shows you've missed. There are audio-only downloads available in a great variety of formats. There's a subscription program. There's lots of stuff that Nugs.net wants you to see at livedead.co. And we want you to watch all of these Dead Air with Lambert and Gans programs that happen in between the sets. But we also want you to really, really enjoy Dead & Company as we are doing, and subscribe to Nugs.net.
David, can I jump in here with another question for Jim? It kind of relates to this. David and I are constantly
I didn't get that. Try tapping above.
She didn't get that. Well, let me try to explain it to her.
I'm hearing
we have
voices.
too many. We have too many gadgets in this world is our problem, but we like the gadgets that let us get this music in such high definition and all that. And I wanted to ask you, Jim, when we talked this afternoon, you were mentioning having been to an amazing Grateful Dead Wall of Sound show at the Roosevelt Stadium that I was at as well, 1974. And I would imagine some of your passion for learning audio and all that was fired by the Grateful Dead being such an integral part of moving the standard of music technology forward and sound systems and all that.
I have to tell you folks, so I was to Roosevelt State, I'm rolling around in my wheelchair, right, on the playing field, and there's the wall and sound, and sometime during the show, I literally climb out of my wheelchair into the stands. And when I got level with the stage, it was like all of a sudden I was in a studio.
Wow.
I mean, it was stunning. It was stunning. And for a sound person like myself, it was like one of those moments you just never forget. And, let me say that one of the amazing things that happened to me when I moved to Berkeley is that I became friends with John and Helen Meyer of Meyer Sound. And they're incredible people, wonderful philanthropists. And through my work at Berkeley Rep, I got to meet them. And those connections helped me get backstage at some shows. And but really, I kind of found the tribe up here my own way.
Yeah, you might enjoy, if I could interject, one of my all-time favorite Bob Weir one-liners. David's heard this one several times. But at that show at Roosevelt, I was standing backstage with Bob, talking to him, and we were looking up, from below the wall of sound and from behind, and it was kind of twilightish, and it looked like the skyline of a small city. And I said to Bob, man, did you ever think it would come to this? And Bob said, yeah, especially considering when, back in the day, there were times where we'd have to cancel a gig because no one could find an extension cord.
Well,
go ahead.
No, that was a memorable evening in that it actually was supposed to happen a few days beforehand, but a thunderstorm was moving in and we had to cancel it. So we all got like these dummy tickets as we were leaving, and I just remember actually just the adventure of kind of leaving, and one of my high school friends who was like his mind was exploding in the seat next to me, kind of 2 miles away, saying, "Are you coming back to the show?" Like these were people that were like just lived in Jersey. I don't know. The whole thing was wonderful to me.
Jim, what are you doing now?
Well, the Crypt Camp has really opened up a lot in regards to opportunities for myself and co-director Nicole Noonan. And we've been hearing about this Crypt Camp effect in Hollywood, where through the success of our film, whereas people with projects that may involve disability couldn't get meetings, people are now getting meetings. That there are projects in development. And I've been approached to work on a bunch of different things, some of which are starting to take off, and other things that are still, in that usual kind of Hollywood, well, they passed, but we're going to go to somebody else. But I really want to be working in narrative television. I want to do comedy. I want, so many of the old tropes around disability are like overcoming your disability, or gee, it's really, I feel horrible and please kill me, like $1 Million Baby or Me Before You. And, these are the kind of stereotypes and tropes that are incredibly harmful because they're inaccurate. But when people from a community make their own films, when they are actually the people that are involved with the artistic process, not only that authenticity brings out amazingly entertaining and good films and television shows. And we've seen this with other communities. And it's only now starting to happen with the disabled community. And all I could say is it's about time. And, I think it was people's stereotypes of people with disabilities that they never in the past or up to a year or so ago didn't really ask or think to ask. But there's many of us working in Hollywood.
That just sounds so promising. And I have to tell people that don't know Jim LeBrecht that he has the best laugh in the business. And if I were working with him on a comedy show, I would consider it such an amazing reward to get a laugh from him. It would be fun to watch. I rest my case. We've been working together for 20 years or so, working on digital audio art, and being in a studio with him is just a real treat. And he really does have that amazing laugh. You only heard like a fraction of it just now, but he's just a wonderful guy to hang out with and work with. And so all the people that get to write a comedy show with Jim LeBrecht are in for a treat, I have to say.
I think there could be some, new ground that's covered. I remember a day when David and I were working on one of his songs, and there was a bridge, and I said, David, what about putting geese in here, flying overhead? And we have a good working relationship, and he went, I put in some geese, and it just felt right. And that's what I love about. I love the experimentation that I got to learn from the Grateful Dead, and the ability to try things, right? And you don't know whether it's going to work necessarily all the time, but that effort and that risk and that jump sometimes yields things that just gives you goosebumps.
And that same improvisational spirit from the Grateful Dead informed my decision when he said, I think this needs geese. I said, sure, why not? And he was right. It needed geese.
And, all of us incurable music geeks have watched the state of the art and the ability to experiment increase over the years. And we still marvel at what the Beatles were able to do with a couple of 4-track recorders strapped together. I don't know. I know David and I both enjoyed this series with Paul McCartney and Rick Rubin, getting under the hood of Beatles songs and, figuring out, this is how we turned a chicken into a guitar, on Good Morning, or whatever, and now in a way it's easier because of digital technology, but I also love the seat of the pants aspect of just, try this on for size. And I love the geese aspect of what you guys are doing.
This gentleman knows his way around a Pro Tools rig. And one of the things that happened on one of our songs was that he shoved an acoustic guitar into a filter and it came out sounding like a flute.
I've had many long evenings sound designing, and you just start playing around sometimes and saying, I know they didn't design this plugin exactly to do this, but I'm going to shove this thing around and layer it up a lot. And all of a sudden, amazing things can happen.
Yeah.
It's been fun. What did you think of the set we just heard, by the way?
Oh my gosh. Right from the opener, Feels Like a Stranger was just great. But Jeff gave me goosebumps with Brown Eyed Women. And then to hear Otel singing, what a sweet, beautiful voice that man has.
Oh, God, yeah. So, Oteil gets all the Jerry ballads, or most of them. He gets like China Doll, and what a voice. What a sweet voice. Yeah.
Everybody's on fire, and it's just amazing how hearing John just evolve and just into this incredible guitarist and singer and such a wonderful part of the band. It's just anyway. I've just had a hell of a time watching it. It was great.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to talk to John a bunch about this. And he even says that playing in Dead & Company has made him more of a collaborator than a band leader in his own band. When he went back out on tour in 2019 after their last full tour before this one, he said he was much more relying on everyone else in the band to create the content and give him stuff to respond to. He was even lighting his shows more like Dead and Company shows, less like sort of, big rock show gestures and more of that subtle, pastel oblique lighting that Candace innovated for the Dead and that the current crew is carrying on so beautifully. So it's had as much of an effect on him as he's had on the band. It's really nice.
There was just a great feel to this whole video. The mix is incredible. I've got a reasonably good setup here in my kind of home studio, and everything sounded just in the pocket, and the camera work and everything. It was just, I'm so happy I got to, see the first set, and I can't wait for the second.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it too, and it should be starting momentarily. We're in that funny place where we haven't quite run out of things to say, but we don't really want to start a whole fresh new topic because at any moment they could tell us that the house lights are going down. We'll probably get a warning that the band is assembled on the stage first. So,
although not always.
Not always. Sometimes they just go lights, and that's it. We're going down.
Right. There are the stages of returning to the set. We're told the band is walking, which means proceeding from dressing rooms to stage. Then they'll say, we have 3 of them. We have 2 of them. Oh, one just went back. One's coming back. And then we'll get lights. But it could all happen at once too. They're very capricious, shall we say.
But let's talk about what you do. That the doing sound for film is always, it's a very interesting process, and you like, especially nowadays when you're making sound in like 3-dimensional spaces with 7 speakers and stuff like that. Talk about that work and how, I don't know, it just always seems like a very precise and yet very creative work as well. And sound works in ways that help make the picture work, right?
You can make a picture look you can make a picture look like it had a bigger budget with the sound. First off.
Explain. Yeah.
I mean, it's when you start filling in those things that emotionally are kind of important, like, gee, this is a dangerous neighborhood, and the dogs that are barking off in the distance, or a distant siren or something, that you're really helping to kind of paint the emotional landscape that the actors and the script and the editing and the lighting are doing. So and I think my theater training really helped me for film, because we'll stay up till all hours of the night, like, talking about things, and in film it wasn't quite that intense of a conversation, at least initially, but no, I love documentary film. I love working in documentary film, in which a microphone is pretty much pointed at somebody's face, but you're not hearing the world around you. And to add things in, you're not going to put in something that wouldn't be there. Well, you're not going to put dinosaurs in the background, right? That to be inside a gas station and talking to somebody, maybe hearing that ding ding that we used to hear at gas stations years ago. At least you don't hear them in California anymore. But just to fill in those things that are missing, that help support the story. Every sound has an emotion. Every sound has a function. And if you know those things, you can make really smart choices.
And the Bay Area has been really a mecca for film sound design, I think, over the years. A lot of the people who work for Francis Coppola and George Lucas and all of them were incredible trailblazers in the field. And of course, well, the Star Wars movies are sort of like just absolute overdrive for sound freaks, but much more subtle films have these little details going on, and I love that stuff. I'm an old film freak too, as well as music and theater and all that. So,
look, I saw Apocalypse Now twice at the North Point in North Beach in San Francisco.
Me too.
One of the first Dolby Stereo film, right? And for as a sound designer, it was just amazing. And it was during the day, so I just sat in the sweet spot. Again, climbing out of my wheelchair and climbing over the seats. But there's this moment in the film where the attack on the river and these bullets start hitting the side of the boat, there's a whoosh that starts at the back of the house and goes towards the screen. I ducked. Now, the second time I knew it was coming, I still ducked.
Wow.
And that is the work of Mark Berger, who was recording armaments one day. And apparently he was out there recording things, and one of them didn't go off quite right. So the guy that was setting these up to go off kicked it, and all of a sudden it went off, and it went right at Mark. And he literally is holding his microphone, and he went like this, and he perfectly caught the sound of the rocket going by.
Wow.
And that's what they did. And look, I grew up with in film with these guys like Mark Berger and Coppola working, and David Parker and Alan Splett, who was just a remarkable sound designer in the same building where I was working over at the Fantasy Building in Berkeley at the Saul Zaentz Film Center. I mean, I was in hog heaven over there.
What fun.
Fantastic. We are told the band is on stage, which means that the magic word lights could come up any second or sometime within the next half hour. We never quite know. But
we're not done with you, Jim. And Gary, I'm trying to figure out why you got that text and I didn't. I'm 3,000 miles away, but it doesn't travel that slowly, damn it.
Are you on the right group? Are you on
yeah. It'll get here eventually, I guess. That's weird. Anyway, as long as one of us knows.
Right. Maybe that voice on your phone that said, "I didn't hear that," is messing with you now. Anyway, hey, Jim, I mean, we could spend an hour with you about film sound, because I'm a huge fan of that, and going back to like what Orson Welles innovated with Citizen Kane and all that. It's a really great history, but we're about to hear some history from the stage of Deer Creek as well. I also love the way the sound at these shows incorporates just enough of the crowd, to give you a feel without having that live concert overkill of audience sound. It's really the right proportion,
Yeah, absolutely. And, you hear classic recordings like Live at the Fillmore by the Allman Brothers, and, all of that is just perfect. And so, yeah, I always appreciate when they're there, but not overwhelming, or somebody has an overdone reverb. And these are tight recordings. I love them.
Yeah, they do a great job.
It is time. Set two, ladies and
Jim
gentlemen.
LeBrecht,
Jim,
thank you.